Rack Noble for Boxing UK, sponsored by Supreme CBD. Here with Eddie Kern. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Rack. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Didn't say it yesterday, but happy belated birthday.
Thank you, mate. I used to boast about it, but now hopefully I'm hoping that no one actually says anything. But it was late. It got to about 8 or 9 o'clock, and then I think Cougar mentioned it in an interview, and everyone that watched that interview then went on the bandwagon. But at least we delayed it till late
I
in the
actually
day.
saw it on the DAZN socials. They
Oh,
said
did
happy
you? Yeah, I
birthday,
saw
Eddie.
that.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah. Called me a legend, actually. It's
Nice.
quite nice. It's almost like I'm running that social account.
Almost like the guy behind it, maybe. Would you now say that you're past the brash promoter to now the wise veteran promoter? What would you call yourself these
Yeah,
days?
probably. Like, I've just chilled out a lot more over the years. You know, like I've never taken myself too seriously. I was very aggressive. Like you know, I didn't like certain people, and I don't really care now. Like, it's like I sometimes argue with my dad about fighters, and if we fall out with a fighter, which is quite rare. Like, he's like, we will never. You know, I'll give you an example. O'Hara Davis. Yeah, he watched my interview of O'Hara Davis. I see you speak. Yeah, that was good. I don't like. I really don't like what he's been saying over the years. And I said to him, do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we end up working with O'Hara Davis. He went, yeah, right. I went, no, I'm serious. I said, oh, he's in line for a world title. It's a good fight for Jack Catterall. He might fight Rolly Romero. And he looked at me as if to say, would you honestly work with O'Hara Davis after everything that's happened? I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Who cares? I ain't got to like you. We're doing business. We're making fights. But the problem with that older generation is, Frank's the same, Warren, they can't, and I'm not knocking it, it's just the way they are. But it stops fights from happening, and it fractures relationships. When you can sit down sensibly, and you don't got to like someone, but you just put that to the side and try and make fights and do good business.
Talking of fights or relationships that we thought were fractured, with Mustafa Stanley Edwards. Now, of course, it's quite noted that you lot had a bit of a spat back in Sheffield a couple of years ago. How did this relationship come together?
I kept saw him almost slagging me off on Twitter, and I thought, I've got to have a word with him. I think he's a liberty taker. So he asked for tickets to my show in Sheffield, and I thought, what liberty? But I don't turn fighters down for tickets, especially of that level. And I see him, I went, hey, what's you saying? Like, I think we ended up doing something with Coogan, and we had a backwards and forwards. But actually, like, we debated it, and I never mind doing that. And I realised that he's actually quite bright. Obviously, he's very good. And I think he's a character, and I think we're lacking characters in the sport, and we're lacking characters across all sport these days. So when I got to know him, I actually quite started to like him. He says some silly things sometimes, but he's smart. And when he did the broadcast on the Joe Cordina fight, he was outstanding. And I think people like him. I think people like you like him. I think boxing people like him.
No, we do.
I know you think sometimes a little bit, but you respect him as a fighter. You know how good he is. And I just want to see him in all those big fights to see where his ceiling is.
Of course, just talking on to other big fights. Another big fight that we're rumoured to be hearing is that Chris EUBANK, Conor Benn. Is that potentially back on?
Yeah, we're in talks for that fight. I mean, look, there's a lot going on. We'd love to do the fight in the UK, but we're waiting for the conclusion of the UCAD situation. We're talking to Abu Dhabi about staging a big fight out there, but that's the fight I'd like to make, and hopefully we can get it over the line.
What's Conor's current relationship with the board? Are they close to kissing and making up?
Not really, but I mean, at least he's been responsive, which, for a long period of time, he felt that he was being treated incorrectly, and he had a chip on his shoulder about it. Now we've calmed everyone down. He's going through the process that everyone wants. Let's see where it gets to.
Let's touch on other welterweights. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, the mega fight we thought was never going to happen. What are your thoughts on that one?
It's a great fight. I think Crawford's a special. I mean, they're both special fighters. We had Errol Spence over fighting Kell Brook. You saw how good he was that night, and he was a young version of what he is now. I just feel like he's had a bit of wear and tear over the years, and I just feel like Crawford's lived a clean life. He's an outstanding fighter. They're both great fighters. I just think Terence wins a decision or a late stoppage.
And just one below, of course, tomorrow night after your show, we've got Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor. How are you seeing that one?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of unknowns about both their current situations. Josh last fought. I mean, let's be honest, he lost that fight to Jack Catterall in nearly everyone's opinion, and that was over a year ago. Teofimo's an emotional roller coaster. But I think if Josh is still the fighter he is, which is a tremendous fighter, I think he wins the fight by stoppage with just too much work rate.
Just touching on the females for a moment. I know Tyson Gallagher, you had an interview with her earlier on today, another female in the bantamweight division. What are your plans for young Tyson?
Not with us, but a good fighter. You know, I know she boxed Nina Hughes before, lost, but then came back with a win recently against Lisa Whiteside. So, you know, she's another domestic bantamweight that I think if she hadn't already lost to Nina, she may have got the fight. But, you know, we made a fight with an undefeated fighter, but I think Tyson, if she keeps working away, is going to get big fights as well.
Could a showdown with Ebony Bridges be potential?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Ebony Bridges is looking to defend in August, maybe, on a big show, so we'll see what happens.
And just on to Jessica McCaskill and Rick Ramos. What's currently the status? Because she was meant to fight on the 24th of June. Of course, Ivana fought
Yeah.
a couple of weeks
So
ago.
we had an agreement that we made with Rick Ramos to do that fight and then do the Sandy Ryan fight. When it came to contract, we couldn't get the fight signed. Not blaming anyone, it just is what it is. And now we're in talks to stage Sandy Ryan against Jessica McCaskill. That's the fight I want to make. I want to make the undisputed fight. When we get the chance to make undisputed fights, we should try and do it. That's a really good fight. It's a great opportunity for Sandy. It's a big fight for Jessica, and hopefully we can get that fight over the line.
Do you see that fight happening next, both of them?
Yes.
And just going on, I wanted to ask you a hypothetical question. Of course, we know the heavyweights. There's a lot of inactivity. Not so many fighters are fighting. If you was to have managed Tyson Fury from 2020, how would you have managed his career?
I don't think his career's been managed that badly. I just feel like the Usyk fight is the one. I just feel like people were getting a bit impatient now with him. So he's a great fighter. He's had a good career. He's been inactive, but a lot of heavyweights are inactive. AJ's been inactive at times as well. So I just think there was an opportunity to make the Usyk fight. He's not. The thing is with Tyson, once he's made his mind up, he's not really willing to have a conversation about it. And I feel like if he was more sensible, fights would have got made, and they would have got made if he really truly fancied the fight. But he knows how difficult that fight is, and he's got a number in his head, and he won't take the fight unless he gets it.
And just to round off, of course, it's the birthday weekend. How are you going to be celebrating it?
Well, at the show, as always, at a show. So I had a bite to eat last night. Be at the show tomorrow, and then straight off to New Orleans, and then New York, and then Sheffield, and then Mexico, and then Detroit.
I remember a time where matchroom shows were based mostly in London. Now I'm having to go up and down the country, around the world to see you guys.
This is great. We love what we do. We love boxing. And I'm very blessed. Very tiring. There's a lot of aggravation. But most days, I thank the Lord for the life and the job that he gave me.
Any birthday cards or messages from Ella B or Oscar De La Hoya?
Definitely not.
Maybe next year.
All right, mate.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Rack.